All right. So, welcome back to another Power Bourbon. And this time I'm not alone, which I'm excited about.
Is this a cry for help or
Yeah, pretty much. So, tonight we are going to try the newest cask finish series from Barrell. Thank you for Barrell for sending this. We really appreciate it. But this is their ice wine finish. So that's the new one that just dropped. You should start seeing it. Let's see, what have we had from them lately? The Ambarana, check. The Mizunara, check. Like, I I feel like we can say at this point in time, they are the kings of affordable finishing products.
yeah, I think it was maybe it was the last one that I crowned them champion. Took it away from Bardstown, although it feels like that they had been deteriorating for some time. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so this is 89.99. I mean, really, we are so separated in price. We are now talking you could almost buy two of
you could
these
buy two.
for a single Bardstown. Like, and it's the ages and the distillate that they're blending into it is basically the same stuff.
Yeah, and they've just been knocking it out of the park on these last few. Just it was our favorite Ambrana expression.
Mm-hmm.
The Mizunara was amazing. So
Oh
they've
yeah.
just been doing really nice job.
Yeah. So we will get in and we will try this, but the blend components, as always, they're completely transparent. It is a 5 and 8 year old Kentucky, a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 Indiana, 9 and 15 Tennessee, and coming in again, a 9 year old Wyoming. So they've been throwing Wyoming in a little bit more. And then it's got 71 corn, 24 rye, 4% malted barley, and 1% wheat. My guess is that Wyoming is bringing the wheat in. So, all right.
I'm excited to try this. We haven't had, or I personally, I haven't had an ice wine. I'm going out on a limb and saying you haven't had an ice wine finished either. We have
Nope.
had sweet wine finishes. So some other sweet wines are, Sautern is a common finishing barrel for sweet wines. Tokai, however you want to say that. Tokai, I think
Yeah.
is the actual way you say that, is another sweet wine. So ice wine's just made a little bit different. We can get into the differences of that a little bit later on, but
I mean, that's part of the reason I waited for you was you know all the wine stuff. And I'm just like, it's ice wine. So obviously it's a white wine that was dealt with the Arctic ice polar cap or something like
yeah,
that is probably
it's
what happened.
not white wine that is on a hot day and you'd put ice in it.
Oh, well, yeah, because you freeze grapes and you put it in there, so that way it doesn't water down the
So
wine.
it's cool.
See,
Yeah, it
I
doesn't water it down.
I know stuff. So super sweet nose.
There's like a floral sweet to me. It's like a
Yeah.
light. It's not lavender. It's yeah.
Let's say honeysuckle just seems
There
appropriate.
you go. Yeah, and I will even a little honey with the sweet, but that's what it's almost like a yeah. It's a floral sweet to me. It's like you. It's like the nectar.
Reminds me of after the wife has gone shopping at Bath and Body Works. She goes into the bathroom and puts some soap on and comes out and says, "Hey, does it smell good?" Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah, rub this on your hands. That'd be great.
A little bit of oak back there. So yeah.
Mm. Palate continues the sweetness. Like leaves you with a little bit of like a sweet baked bread pie crust in the back of that palate.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of grain coming through.
Mm-hmm. And then it really gets spicy on the finish. And it's barrel, so it's barrel proof. Comes in at 106.52, but I'm willing to say it drinks up in the 110, 115 range. It's a bit of a Kentucky hug there.
It does leave you with like a lingering ethanol, pleasant ethanol
Mm-hmm.
burn. Powerful, but it's like a that the palate is it's viscous. It's creamy. So it's like it coats your mouth, and so you get the tingling pretty much all over
Oh yeah.
the lasting finish.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah.
I'd say a little bit like tamed down as far as and maybe some of that's it's not a rye black pepper finish to me. It's like I said, the ethanol lingers there, but it is a sweeter finish, not
Mhm.
necessarily lingering with black pepper.
Yeah, there's a little hint of the oak notes coming in, but then yeah, I'm gonna go with like, oh, not like a chili pepper, like the five chili that you put in chili spices, that type of sweet heat coming in on the second sip definitely starts to coat the jawline, which I didn't get on the first sip. So I love that viscosity is actually coating the entire mouth, because the first time it just kind of got the tongue, and then the second time really gets in there. uh, but yeah, it's that wonderful sweet to spicy oaky finish. But the interesting thing I would say with this one is I'm not getting a caramel butterscotchy sweetness at all, which you normally do. It's much more of, like we said, uh, honey, kind of almost a honeycomb type sweetness, or a bread sweetness, and some floral notes built in too.
Yeah, and personally, like I haven't had one of the things I recommend. If you really want to understand what a finishing barrel does to a whiskey, is just go taste that product by itself. I actually haven't had an ice wine directly, but I have had Sautern and Tokai, so I think I can draw some commonalities out of those to what an ice wine might do. And it's like I think it really is. It's taming down some of the bourbon, the rye spice probably from the bourbons. I get just a hint of maybe like a grain malt in the palate, but that's also tamed down. So it's like that sweetness from the finishing barrel, the wine, the ice wine, the sweet wine in this instance, is really like taming down those bourbon notes, but ratcheting up some of these honey, adding in a little bit of this. I think some of these more floral notes, these delicate floral notes. That
Yeah.
you probably wouldn't get otherwise. But to me, I think the texture is almost one of the nicest parts about this, or at least the largest effects from this finishing barrel. It's it's really enjoyable.
Yeah. And this is like, yeah, we would have to try an ice wine next to it, or try the blend next to it, because like the Ambarana and even the Mizunara, you can really detect what those barrels are doing to the bourbon. Uh, but again, with Barrel, they do a really good job of still making the bourbon truly shine. This one, I feel like, is the ultimate blend in the sense that I don't know where the bourbon begins and the ice wine ends. Like it is fully melded, and like just impressive. Like it is a really masterful blend, I think.
Yeah, I think with time that nose opens up really nice. I think that's actually, I mean, I love a good nose anyway, but that's just I think you're getting more of the oak coming
Mhm.
out now as it sits. Where I wasn't
Yeah.
getting that as much. I was getting more of the ice wine initially, but now that oak is just kind of developing a little bit, so it's melding with that sweetness and floral. It's really nice.
So we said a lot of good things. I am going to give them one big knock that I don't agree with, which is when they decided to release this. I think this is a perfect spring summer whiskey, not a winter whiskey. Like I could absolutely, it's a little bit nicer out, everything like that, warming up or on the beach, sip this kind of like a seagrass. It's not that good full bodied winter fall whiskey. So, I mean, I probably won't be going to it as much in the fall, but when springtime hits, like I'm going to be so excited to get back into this bottle.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Use some of your words against you. I mean, you talked about the power. You think it drinks higher than 106.
It's
So it's
true.
giving you a little bit of warming sensation. You get a little cold. Somebody can't turn the thermostat up higher in the house because they're cheapskate. And, you need a little something to stay a little warmer. Give yourself that feeling. This might be it. I also think it's seasonal, or it's the right season in the sense that this is the season that they make ice wine. So part of that process is you have to wait to harvest the grapes until it freezes. And
Okay.
literally, like, you might only have a few hours to harvest those grapes, because they have to naturally freeze, which concentrates the water freezes, not the sugars and the other electrolytes in the grapes. So anyway, and so that concentrates the sugars, and so that increases the level of sugar in the juice. So basically, a less amount of juice, higher content of sugar. So that's yeah. So in that sense, maybe it is the right time.
I got you. And I guess in the sense that, like, when I'm in my basement in the winter, I'm going to sip it and be like, man, I'm ready for summer. And this brings just like a little bit of
Hmm.
summer, spring to it. So I don't know. All I know is they did good again. Like, we, again, have not had a bad barrel product. Sure, some of the bourbon batches have been better than the others, but I will say that all their, I'll get the correct term, cask finish series have been amazing. Like, there has not been a bad one. The bourbon takes the front, and then these finishes add to it. And I don't think there's anybody on the market that can compete with Barrel right now. It used to be Bardstown; they got too expensive. Starlight tries, but a lot of their stuff, while it's good, has some grainy qualities, and this has just got that aged bourbon notes to it. So, like, if you really like the collaborative nature of Bardstown and they priced you out, I think you just need to start looking at Barrel. And that's, I don't know.
I think Barrel's finding a sweet spot, and some of those other. I mean, a lot of people are doing finishes. Probably too many, actually. It's like a little bit of saturation. But Barrel's been doing it a long time. And one of the things, like, yes, they put in some 5-year whiskey in there, but it's like they have they have some aged bourbon that I think, and this is something we've always said about Barrel, is they start with good bourbon.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, honestly, in the early days of Bardstown, that's what they were doing really well. Is they had 12-year Tennessee or Kentucky bourbons in their finishing, which, if you start with good stuff, it's kind of like a cocktail. If you start with a good bourbon, you're gonna, it makes a good cocktail. Same thing with the finishing. If you start with a good bourbon, it's gonna lead to a better finished product. Yeah, you can use a finishing barrel to cover some stuff up, but in the end, those of us that love to do this and drink and have several hundred bottles, like, we're gonna pick out those times where you're using young whiskey or you're using flawed whiskey, and that's just something that Barrel's not doing. They're starting with a great blend. I think this one in particular, like, if you would list preferences, and maybe that would be a fun blind to do, or a fun test to do sometime, or a fun flight. Just what is our favorite finishing in the cask finish series recently? This one to me is crushable. It is just,
Yeah.
it's just from start to finish. Like, this might be my dessert bourbon. I know we throw that out sometimes. Maybe any bourbon for us can be a dessert bourbon, but yeah, this one to me is just, it gives you a little bit of that sweetness. There's no sharp notes. It's just from start to finish, very drinkable. Maybe not for somebody that's used to less than 95 proof.
Yeah.
But if you drink 100 plus proof bourbon, this could be very much a enjoyable pour to finish off the night, or after a nice meal.
Yeah. Yep, definitely. So, all right. Let us know in the comments. Have you tried any of their Cash Finish series? Which one was your favorite? I just realized we forgot about the rum finished one that we got samples of that we reviewed a long time ago. So yeah, I mean, I think they're all good. I think what you're saying is truly that they kind of found their niche in the market. And yeah, let us know if you've tried it. Are you still a Barrel fan? Have you not jumped on the wagon? And if not, why not? Because it's really good bourbon.
Back on the wagon.
Yep. And with that, cheers. See you next time.
Stay neat.